أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
पनाह मांगता हूँ मैं अल्लाह की शैतान मरदूद से।
बिस्म الله الرحمن الرحيم।
शुरू अल्लाह का नाम लेकर जो बड़ा मेहरबान निहायत रहम वाला है।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters, and welcome to my show Future Stars. I'm your host Alvi Zaidi. And now on Future Stars today we'll be talking about Allah's creations. And as we know, Allah has created everything in the world, from all the tiny little ants that crawl across the grass to the big sun in the sky. So we'll be talking on 3 topics today, as today we'll be doing part 1 of Allah's creations, and next week we'll be doing a part 2. And to join me today to talk to me about Allah's creations, we have Sister Sarah. Now, Sister Sarah will be joining in and talking to us about 3 topics of Allah's creations which I've chosen, and we'll be talking about plants, animals, and people. And of course, our craft will be later on in the show. So to start off, Sister Sarah is going to start with our plant topic, and she's going to read us a story about the little acorn.
It was a little acorn that hung on the bough of a tree. It had a tender green cup and a beautiful carved saucer to hold it. The mother oak fed it with sweet sap every day. The birds sang good night songs above it, and the wind rocked it gently to and fro. The oak leaves made a soft green shade above it, so the sun might not shine too warmly on its green cover. And it was as happy as an acorn could be. There were many other acorns on the tree, and the mother tree thought her wind voices whispered loving words to all her babies. The summer days were so bright and pleasant that the acorn never thought of anything but sunshine and an occasional shower to wash the dust off the trees. But summer ends and the autumn days came. The green cup of the acorn turned to brown cup, and it grew stiffer and harder, for the cold winds began to blow. The leaves turned from green to golden brown, and some of them whisked away by the rough winds. The little acorn began to grow uneasy. "Isn't it always summer?" it asked. "Oh no," whispered the mother oak. "The cold days come and the leaves must go, and the acorns too. I must soon lose my babies." "Oh, I could never leave this kind bough," said the frightened acorn. "I shall be lost and forgotten if I were to fall." So it tried to cling all the closer to its bough, but at last it was alone there. The leaves were blown away, and some of them had made a blanket for the brown acorns lying on the ground. One night the tree whispered a message to the lonely acorn. "This tree is your home for only a time. This is not your true life. Your brown shell is only the cover for a living plant, which can never be set free until the hard shell drops away, and that can never happen until you are buried in the ground and wait for the spring to call you. So let go, little acorn, and fall to the ground, and someday you will wake to a new and glorious life." The acorn listened and believed, for was not the tree its mother? It bade her goodbye, and losing its hold, dropped to the ground. Then indeed it seemed as if the acorn were lost. That night a high wind blew and covered it deep under a heap of oak leaves. The next day a cold wind washed the leaves closer together. A trickling stream from the hillside swept some earth over them. The acorn was buried. "But I shall wake again," it said, so it fell asleep. It was very cold, but the frost fairies wove a soft white snow blanket to cover it, and so it was kept warm. If you walked through the woods that winter, you would have seen that the acorn was gone, but spring came and called to all sleeping things to unground, to waken and come forth. The acorn heard and tried to move, but the brown shell had it fast. Some raindrops trickled through the ground to moisten the shell, and one day the pushing life within it set free. The brown shell was no more use and was lost in the ground, but the young plant lived. It heard voices of birds calling it upwards. "I must go, a new and glorious life," my mother oak had said. "I must arise," the acorn thought, and up the living plank came, up into the world of sunshine and beauty. It looked around. There were the same green moss in the woods. It could hear the same singing brook. Now I know that I shall live and grow, it said. Yes, Russell the mother oak. You are now an oak tree. This is your real life. And the little oak tree was glad and stretched higher and higher towards the sun.
Mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing that story with us. So that was just a story explaining about a little acorn and its life cycle. So Allah has created plants and they have a life cycle just like humans do. And also plants can be used in stories to show lessons towards people as to why things have purposes, which is the topic of the next story that I have here. And this story is about the travellers and the plant and the plane tree. Two men were walking along one summer day. Soon it became too hot to go any further, and seeing a large plane tree nearby, they threw themselves on the ground to rest in its shade. Gazing up into the branches, one man said to the other, "What a useless tree this is. It does not have any fruits or nuts that we can eat, and we cannot even use its wood for anything." "Don't be so ungrateful," rustled the tree in reply. I'm being extremely useful to you at this very moment. I'm shielding you from the hot sun, and you call me good for nothing. All of Allah's creations have a good purpose. Islam teaches us that we should never belittle Allah's blessings. So that story was just explaining about how all of God's creations have a use to us, and also they have been created for a reason, and we should not belittle them, as the story just said. So now we're going to move on to our animal topic, and Sister Sarah is going to read us a story about an ant and a grasshopper, which has a life lesson for us to learn using animals in the story.
One cold, frosty day in the middle of winter, a colony of ants was busy drying out some grains of corn, which had grown damp during the wet autumn weather. A grasshopper, half dead with cold and hunger, came up to one of the ants. "Please give me a grain or two from your store of corn to save my life," he said, faintly. We work day and night to get this corn in. "Why should I give it to you?" asked the ant crossly. "Whatever were you doing all last summer when you should have been gathering your food?" "Oh, I didn't have time for things like that," said the grasshopper. I was far too busy singing to carry corn about." The ant laughed unkindly. "In that case, you can sing all winter as far as I'm concerned," he said, and without another word he turned back to his work. Islam teaches us that we should help the less fortunate, but it also teaches us that we must work hard and not rely on the kindness of others for our daily needs.
Mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that story with us. So just as we moved into our animal topic of Allah's creations, that was just a story explaining a life lesson also using through animals. So it's explained a bit more clearly using animals. And I have a story here about the caged bird escape, which is another life lesson story using animals as an example. So once upon a time, there was a bird in a cage who sang for her merchant owner. He took delight in her song day and night, and was so fond of her that he served her water in a golden dish. Before he left for a business trip, he asked the bird if she had a wish. "I will go to the forest where you were born, past the birds of your old neighborhood. What message shall I take for them?" The bird said, "Tell them that I sit full of sorrow in a cage, singing my captive song. Day and night my heart is full of grief. I hope it will not be long before I see my friends again and fly freely through those trees. Bring me a message from the lovely forest which will set my heart at ease. Oh, I yearn for my beloved to fly with him and spread my wings. Until then there is no joy for me, and I am cut off from all of life's sweet things." The merchant travelled on his donkey through the dense forest. He listened to the melodies of many birds. When the merchant reached the forest where his bird came from, he stopped, pushed his hood back, and said, "Oh birds, greetings to all of you from my pretty bird locked in her cage. She sends tidings of her love to you and wants to tell of her plight. She asks for a reply that will ease her heart. My love for her keeps her captive with bars all around her, but she wants to join her beloved and sing her songs through the air with a free heart, but I would miss her beautiful songs and cannot let her go. All of the birds listened to the merchant's words. Suddenly one bird shrieked and fell from a branch to the ground. The merchant froze to the spot where he stood. Nothing could astound him more than this did. One bird had fallen down dead. The merchant continued on to the city and traded his goods. At last he returned to his home. He did not know what to tell his bird when she asked what message he had brought. He stood before her cage and said, "Oh, nothing to speak of. No, no." The bird cried, "I must know at once." "I do not know what happened," said the merchant. "I told them your message, and then one of them fell down dead." Suddenly the merchant's bird let out a terrible shriek and fell on her head to the bottom of the cage. The merchant was horrified. He wept in despair. "Oh, what have I done?" he cried. "What have I done? Now my life means nothing. My moon has gone, and so has my sun. Now my own bird is dead." He opened the cage door, reached in, and took her into his hands gently and carefully. "I will have to bury her now," he said. "The poor thing is dead." Suddenly, the moment he had lifted the bird out of the cage, she swooped up, flew out the window, and landed on the nearest roof slope. She turned to him and said gratefully, "Thank you, merchant master, for delivering my message. That bird's reply instructed me how to win my freedom. All I had to do was to pretend to be dead. I gained my freedom when I chose to die. So now I fly to my beloved who waits for me. Goodbye, goodbye, my master no longer." My bird was wise. She taught me a secret, the merchant reflected. If you want to be with the ones you love, you must be ready to give up everything. And then by Allah you will win your heart's desire. So that's another life lesson said through a story of using animals as an example. So that was explaining how bird managed to get her freedom by communication of other animals, and also explaining how you too can get your freedom, so to say, by listening to Allah and caring and remembering Allah as well. And before we continue with the ant topic, I'd just like to remind the viewers that if anybody would like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, and you can phone in to ask a question, or maybe you'd like to phone in to recite something, or maybe you'd like to phone in to comment on today's topic of Allah's creations, then the number's at the bottom of your screen. So now continuing with the animal part of our Allah's creations topic, Sister Sarah has another story for us, and this is about the fox stuck in the tree.
Once upon a time there was a hungry fox that was looking for something to eat. He was very hungry. No matter how hard he tried, the fox could not find food. Finally he went to the edge of the forest and searched there for food. Suddenly he caught sight of a big tree with a hole in it. Inside the hole was a package. The hungry fox immediately thought that there might be food in it, and he became very happy. He jumped into the hole, and when he opened the package, he saw there was a lot of food, bread, meat, and fruit in it. The old woodcutter had placed the food in the tree trunk while he cut down trees in the forest. He was going to eat it for his lunch. The fox happily began to eat. After the fox had finished eating, he felt thirsty and decided to leave the trunk and drink some water from a nearby spring. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not get out of the hole. Do you know why? Yes, the fox had eaten so much that he became too big to fit through the hole. The fox was very sad and upset. He told himself, "I wish that I had thought a little before jumping into the hole." Yes, children, this is the result of doing something without thinking about it first.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that story with us. So just another animal story explaining a life lesson of using animals as an example. So that finishes our animal section of today's topic. And also there's a hadith from the Prophet that starts with, "There is not an animal that lives on the ground nor flies on its wing that's living in communities like you." which means that there's no animal that lives, so no part of Allah's creation that lives in a community. So as we have a community, they also have communities as well. So they have parents and they have friends and they have relatives like that too. So, and there's another saying that animals that make sounds, so for example birds that coo and cows that moo as well, so they all make noises, and it shows that they are praying to Allah. So that's how they pray to Allah. And it says that if a bird is singing its song near your house, it means that you are in the bird's du'as to Allah. So that finishes our animal section, and now we're going to move on to the section about people. And to start off about people, we're going to be talking about how all people are equal and it's not fair to judge each other. So I'm going to start with a story about the cracked pot. So once upon a time there was a water bearer in India who had 2 large pots. Each hung on each end of a pole which he carried across his neck. One of the pots had a crack in it, and while the other pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water at the end of a very long walk from the stream to the master's house, the cracked pot only arrived half full. For a full 2 years this went on daily, with the bearer delivering only 1.5 pots full of water to his master's house. Of course the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, perfect to the end for which it was made. But the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable that it was able to accomplish only half of what it had been made to do. After 2 years of what it perceived to be a bitter failure, it spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. I am ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you. Why? Asked the bearer. What are you ashamed of? I have been able for the past 2 years to deliver only half of my load because the crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back to your master's house. Because of my flaws, you have to do all this work and you don't get a full value of your efforts. The pot said. The water bearer felt sorry for the old cracked pot and in his compassion said, as we return from the master's house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path. Indeed, as they went up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wildflowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it some. But at the end of the trail it felt bad because it had leaked out half of its load, and so again apologized to the bearer for its failure. The bearer said to the pot, Did you notice that there were flowers on only your side of the path, but not the other pot's side? That is because I have always known about your flaw, and I took advantage of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. For 2 years I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate my master's table. Without you being just the way you are, you will not have brought beauty to the grace of his house. Each of us have our own unique flaw, but it's the cracks and flaws we have that makes our lives together so interesting. You've just got to take each person for what they are and look for the good in them. So that's a story explaining about how to not only look at people's flaws, but to take a person as a whole and understand that's how it makes them who they are. So to continue with our people part of today's topic, Sister Sarah is going to read us a story about the elves and the shoemaker.
There was once a shoemaker who worked very hard and was honest, so that he could not earn enough to live on. At last all he had in the world was gone except just leather enough to make one pair of shoes. He cut these out at night and meant to rise early the next morning to make them up. His heart was light in spirit of his troubles, for his conscience was clear, so he went quietly to bed, left all his care to God, and fell asleep. In the morning he said his prayers and sat down to work, when, to his great wonder, there stood the shoes already made upon the table. The good man knew not what to say or think. He looked at the work. There was not one false stitch in the whole job. All was neat and true. The same day, a customer came in, and the shoes pleased him so well that he readily paid a price higher than usual for them. The shoemaker took...
If I could just stop you there for just one moment, we will come back to the story, so just stay on where you are. We have a caller on the line. So, hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Ya Ali Madad. I'm Zaha calling from Leicester. I'm 4 years old. I want to recite Nadia Ali. Salawat Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajihum ajma'in. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نادي عليا يا مسهر العجائب تجده عونا لك في النوائب. كل هم وغم سينجلي. كل هم وغم سينجلي بعظمتك يا الله. بنبوتك يا محمد. بولايتك علي علي علي. ناري حيدري يا علي.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for calling in. MashaAllah, that was beautifully recited, and thank you for sharing that with us. And also, if anybody else like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen, and you can phone in to ask a question or recite something like our last caller just did, or maybe you'd like to comment on today's topic, so the number's at the bottom of your screen. So we were just having a story by Sister Sarah, and this is about the elves and the shoemaker. So Sister Sarah, if you'd like to continue.
The shoemaker took the money and brought leather enough to make 2 pairs more. He cut out the work that evening and went to bed early. He wished to be up by the sun and get to work. He was saved all trouble, for when he got up in the morning, the work was done. Pretty soon buyers came in who paid him well for his goods, so he bought leather enough for 4 pairs more. He cut out the work again overnight and found it finished in the morning, as before. So it went for some more time. When what was got ready at night was already done by daybreak, and the good man soon was well to do. Over evening at Christmas time, he and his wife sat over the fire chatting, and he said, "I should like to sit up and watch tonight, that we may see who it is that comes and does the work for me." So they left the light burning and hid themselves behind a curtain to see what would happen. As soon as it was midnight, there came 2 elves. They sat upon the shoemaker's bench, took up all the work that was cut out, and began to ply their little fingers. They stitched and wrapped and tapped at a rate that the shoemaker was amazed, and could not take his eyes off them for a moment. On they went till the job was done, and the shoes stood ready for use upon the table. This was long before daybreak. They ran away as quick as lightning. The next day the wife said to the shoemaker, "These little elves have made us rich, and we ought to be thankful to them. So do them some good in return. I am vexed to see them run about as they do. They have nothing upon their backs to keep them off the cold. I'll tell you what we must do. I will make each of them a shirt and a coat and a waistcoat and a pair of pantaloons into the bargain. Do you make each of them a little pair of shoes." The good shoemaker liked the thought very well. One evening he and his wife had the clothes ready and laid them on the table instead of the work they used to cut out. Then they went and hid behind the curtains to watch the little elves, to see what the little elves would do. At midnight the elves came in and were going to sit down and at their work as usual, but when they saw the clothes lying there for them, they laughed and were in high glee. They dressed themselves in twinkling of an eye, and danced and capered and sprang about as merry as could be, till at last they danced out of the door and over the green. The shoemaker saw them no more, but everything went well with him as long as he lived.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for sharing that story with us. So before we continue, we have a caller on the line. So hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Ya Ali Madad. I'm here at Batul and I'm calling from Leicester and I want to recite Surat Al-Takasur. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم صدق الله العلي العظيم. Thank you, Khuda Hafiz.
MashaAllah, thank you very much, and thank you very much for calling in, and MashaAllah, that was beautifully recited, and thank you for calling in. So, Sister Sarah just read us a story which finished off our topic about people in this section, in our topic about Allah's creations, and this was just a story, another story explaining about people and communities and working together. So, that finishes off our topic about Allah's creations. We had stories about plants, animals and people, and today's topic is just part 1. So next week we'll be doing Allah's creations part 2. We'll be talking more about what Allah has created, and then if you tune in after the break, we'll be doing our craft to go along with today's topic. So tune in after the break to know how to make paper chains of people like this. So
मोअज़्ज़ज़ नाज़रीन, अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। आपकी मेज़बान नबीला अली अपने प्रोग्राम मशअल राह के साथ हाज़िर खिदमत है। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि हिदायत टीवी के तवस्सुत से हम सब एक घराने की हैसियत रखते हैं, और हिदायत टीवी की हमेशा से ख्वाहिश रही है कि कुरान और अहले बैत की रोशनी में इस घराने को खूब से खूब तर और बेहतर से बेहतरीन बनाया जाए। हर घर और हर माशरे में औरत का एक बहुत अहम रोल है। जिस घर में बाअमल और बाकिरदार औरत होगी, वही घर और घराना बेहतरीन साबित हो सकता है। वजूद ज़न से है तस्वीर कायनात मेरा। इसी काविश को मद्देनज़र रखते हुए हम अपने प्रोग्राम मशअल राह में ख़वातीन से रिलेटेड मुख्तलिफ इशूज़ को कुरान और अहले बैत अलैहिस्सलाम के फ़रामीन की रोशनी में बयान करने की कोशिश करते हैं।
फ़िक़्ह, दारुल फ़िक़्ह और बाबुल फ़िक़्ह से तमस्सुक इख्तियार करते हुए हम आगाज़ कर रहे हैं अल फ़िक़्ह प्रोग्राम। ये अल फ़िक़्ह का प्रोग्राम ये क्या है? फ़िक़्ह इस्तिदलाली है, यानी इस्तिदलाल के एतबार से बात की जाएगी, इस्तिंबात और इस्तिखराज के एतबार से इसमें जो है वो बात की जाएगी। उन वजूहात, उन दलाइल, उन शवाहिद के तहत बात की जाएगी कि जो शरई मसला के इंसान नहीं समझ पाता, कानून को न समझना इस बात पे दलील नहीं है कि उसकी सजा नहीं मिलेगी। जो शरीयत हुक्म करती है, अक्ल सलीम उसे माना करती है, और जो अक्ल सलीम का फैसला हुआ करता है वही शरीयत का फैसला हुआ करता है। वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में रहने वाले हैं कि जो हर बात में नमाज पढ़ें तो क्यों पढ़ें, रोज़ा रखें तो क्यों रखें, वुज़ू करें तो क्यों करें, इसी तरह बाकी जो अहकाम हैं वाई उनके सिलसिले में भी ये मुफीद एक प्रोग्राम इंशाअल्लाह लजीज।
several faces of Islam being projected in this modern days of communication, on the television, in papers, in books, in magazines.
The Quran is saying that you can do all that you think are your duties, but if your heart isn't moved by your neighbour's condition, then your prayer is just an empty.
उनके लिए अपने रब के यहाँ अजर है और वला खौफुन अलैहिम वला हुम यहज़नून, उन पर कोई खौफ नहीं। तो फिर मौला ने इरशाद फरमाया, मुझे पता है कि चूँकि तुम्हारे पेट जो हराम से भरे हुए हैं इसलिए तुम मेरा साथ नहीं दे सकते। एनार्की, कैओस, हर जगह जो है वो लूट मार, कत्ल गारत।
आपका इस्तकबाल करते हैं हमारे इस प्रोग्राम में जिसका उन्वान है हमारे अकायद। 5 उसूल दीन हैं: तौहीद, अदल, नबुव्वत, इमामत और क़यामत। अदल इलाही भी सिफ़ात परवरदिगार में से एक सिफत है। इन्नल्लाह ला युहिब्बुल ज़ालिमीन, अल्लाह खुद न जुल्म करता है न किसी जालिम की हिमायत और मदद करता है।
मुकम्मल मालूमाती प्रोग्राम कम्युनिटी फोरम, जिसमें कम्युनिटी के अफराद की शमूलियत से रोज़मर्रा ज़िंदगी के उन मामलात और मसाइल पर मुकम्मल और मुफस्सल गुफ्तगू जो हमारी कम्युनिटी को आए दिन दरपेश हैं। देखना न भूलिए हर इतवार की दोपहर 2 बजे हिदायत टीवी पर।
Assalamualaikum brothers and sisters, and welcome back to Future Stars with the Art and Craft segment. I'll just reintroduce our guests. So we have Sister Sarah here today with us, and for today's Arts and Craft, what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to make these really nice paper chains of people. So they just look like this, and it's really simple, and what we're going to do is we're going to teach you step by step, as it is related to our topic earlier on Future Stars about Allah's creations, and this shows about a community holding hands together and sharing and caring. So this is what we're going to be making today. Now, Sister Sarah already has her things all together, but I'm just going to tell you what we need. So what you're going to need is a strip of paper, and preferably I'd say about 3 to 4 centimeters wide, and this is just a side of an A4 piece of paper. So I've just cut it off about 3 to 4 centimeters, and it can be as long as you want. The longer it is, the longer your paper chain will be. And then the next thing you want to do, you can go onto the internet and type into your search engine a gingerbread man outline, And or if you are confident enough to draw freehand, you can draw the shape yourself, but you just get an outline of a shape like so. And it's just a gingerbread man outline. And what you're going to do is you're going to get your piece of paper, and like I've already done on this side here, you're going to draw around your outline, so then the outline comes up on here, so like a stencil. And then you're going to fold it accordion style, so you fold it behind, then forward, then behind. So I've already done that previously, but what you're going to want to do is make sure there's a gap between the arm and the foot, so that you fold it directly, so when you cut it out, they'll join hands. So I'll just show you accordion style, so it's behind and back, and then behind again, then forward and behind. Now, of course, if you have any extra sides on your piece of paper, you can just simply cut it off to create a simple shape. And also, it does not matter if the front and bottom lines are straight, as you'll be cutting around them, around your shape of your gingerbread man. Now, what you're going to want to do is take your scissors. Now, these scissors have to be fairly sharp, so make sure you have an adult to help you, because they're going to be cutting through folds of paper. So what you're going to want to do is, I suggest first to cut around the head shape and then around the arms. But let me just show you how you're going to cut around your arms. So you're going to cut straight across, so you're not going to curve around, because you don't want to cut all the folds, otherwise they won't hold hands. So you're just going to cut straight across for the arms and straight across for the feet, so that they have a chance to fold around. So if you just carry on cutting, so we're just going to start cutting, and you just simply, you can start from anywhere, and you just cut around the head shape like so, and then you just keep cutting around. Now you can try it with card, or you can try it with paper. We're using paper because paper is more simple to use, as when it comes to cutting out, it's less difficult, as card will be really difficult. And also you can do it in any size you want to. So we've chosen a small size, so it's a small body shape. And then once you've done that, so you just keep cutting around the shape. So as you can see, I did not cut the curve around, so the folds are still there. And then you're just going to cut straight across to make sure that you don't cut any folds where they are necessary, because you want them to hold hands. And of course, don't forget to put your rubbish in the bin after, because you don't want to mess up your workspace. And cutting out can be very tricky, so make sure you have an adult to help you, or an adult just to be there to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. So you can do these in different colours. So I'm almost finished cutting mine out. I've just cut them like this. So I've just finished. And now so as you can see, I have just straight arms on the little shape. You have straight arms across and straight feet across. But if you don't like them being straight, you can just trim the corners a little bit, making sure you don't cut out too much folds, otherwise they won't fold together and they won't create a hand shape. And I believe Sister Sarah is just finishing off cutting hers, and it's just as fast as that. It's really simple. And before I unfold it and show you how it looks, we have a caller on the line. So hello, Assalamu alaikum. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, wa alaikum assalam. My name is Muhammad Ali. I'm calling from London. My daughter wants to speak to you. Her name is Zaina Ali. Hey, Zaina.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum assalam. And how are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you. And mashallah, so what is it that you'd like to share with us today?
My dad has been sharing a story with me that I would like to share with you today.
Okay.
It's a story about when he was a young boy. He took 2 baby parrots home, and the mum and dad followed him. When they saw the baby, he felt sad.
Okay.
That's half the story. We would like to conclude this story next week.
Okay. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
My daughter is shy, I was just telling them the story about when I was young back home, So, this is not a full story, this is a true story, So, when I was young, I took 2 baby parrots from, brought them home from the nest, And the parrots, the mom and dad, they follow me, at home.
Okay.
When I saw that the baby, the 2 babies' parents, I felt very sad, So I'm telling them the story about to my children, So inshallah I will write it on the whole story. Maybe my son gonna be he will read the story about this very sad story, you can say, Then I wrote the poetry for the parrots, the end of the little poetry. The call is birds need a freedom, that. So the parrot said to me, I do not need a food and water from you. They were sitting in a cage, that. So I do not need a food and water from you. I need a freedom, only freedom from you. I can sing a song and pray for you. Open the cage and let me fly. I need freedom, only freedom from you. So this is I wrote the poetry as well. So inshallah next week, I didn't know that your program going to be today live or recorded, So I wasn't ready to be prepare that one. So inshallah next week is your program live. So my daughter and my son going to be talk to you. Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Okay, mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you for calling in. And mashallah, thank you for sharing that story with us, and thank you very much for sharing about what happened with you as well. So thank you very much for calling in. And as Sister Sarah has just finished off cutting out her little person and her paper chain, so Sister Sarah, if you'd just like to show us. So that's the paper chain, and it's really that simple. Sister Sarah's just created it there. And how many people have you got there?
6.
6 people. So now, mashallah, that looks really good, and thank you very much for helping out and joining in with today's craft. So I'll just show you the one that I've made here. And it's like that, so it's a lot the same. So this is all just used on white pieces of paper. So of course you can use any kind of paper that you like. And I've made 6 here too. And the longer your piece of paper, the longer the chain would be. And also, if you've made 2 chains, so I'll show you the one that I made earlier, what you can do is just sellotape them together or glue them together, so you have 2 separate ones, and you can glue their arms together or their feet together, so you can make an extra long one like that. So that's pretty much just how you make it. And before I continue on how to decorate it, we have a caller on the line. So hello, assalamu alaikum. And how are you today?
I'm okay.
Mashallah. And what is it that you'd like to share with us today?
I don't know, no.
Okay, so is there a question or maybe a little comment that you'd like to share with us?
Do you like ice cream?
Okay, so if you could just repeat that, as I just didn't quite catch that.
I like your program and it's very good.
Okay, mashallah, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, okay.
And mashallah, it's very brave of you to phone in, and thank you very much for sharing your comment. And is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, mashallah, it's very brave of you to phone in, so thank you very much. And thank you for calling in also. So thank you very much for phoning in. And mashallah, it's brave of you, so if any other future stars out there would like to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen. So, Sister Sarah and I have finished making our paper chains, and of course, if you'd like to share, if you'd like to make your paper chains, you can phone in and say if you've made one or not. And also, as I said, I'll be telling you how to decorate them. So, you can just get a simple pen and draw smiley faces on all of your people. And also, you can colour them in using pens or felt tips or colouring pencils. And you can colour them in differently, so you can colour them with, you can colour boys and girls, and it just shows a community together and how we're all people, and you can colour them with different kind of expressions also. So before we continue, we have a caller on the line. So hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. My name is Mubarak Shah. I am from Birmingham. And you are doing very well. Your program is very well, and I am your regular caller. And how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you, my dear.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. And thank you for calling in also. So thank you very much. And so thank you for calling in. And if anybody else likes to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen. So of course, as I was saying, you can decorate them with felt tips or crayons, or you could add in little shapes or anything, and you can add smiley faces onto all their faces, or sad faces, or however you feel that somehow they should be, and you can decorate them in any kind of way. And we have another caller on the line. So hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, my name is Rafiq. I am from Austria, Salzburg.
Okay. And
but your program is very, very beautiful. I am very happy from girl.
Okay, mashallah, thank you very much. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for calling in. And if anybody else likes to phone in, the number's at the bottom of your screen. So, Sister Sarah, if you'd just like to hold up yours again and just show how you've made it as well. So just follow the steps, and also how you could decorate it. So tips on how you could put smiley faces. So it's really simple to make, and you can add in any kind of decoration that you want. And of course you can make several ones, so I have one here as well. You could just make quite a few, like using A4 pieces of paper, and then as I said before, you can just stick them together. And so if you stick them together so you have two ends, and you could just stick them together like that and sellotape them, or you could glue them together, and then that would make a bigger chain. So you have this bigger chain like so. And you could also stick them up on places, so you could give one to your school and maybe they could stick it up on a board, or maybe you could stick it up at home, and you can just decorate it to how you like it. So that's just today's craft, and it's really simple. And I'd like to say, before we finish off, we have another call on the line. So hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Mashallah. And what is it that you'd like to share with us today?
Do you know on your next show?
Okay.
Is it okay if you do cooking?
Okay, if you could just repeat that request for us.
Pardon?
If you could just repeat that request for us.
Pardon?
If you could just repeat your request, as I didn't quite catch it, so...
Can you cook?
Okay, well, I'll see if I can. I can cook, but on the show I don't think I'll be able to, but I could see if I could, as a request, I will put that through and see if I can use the cooking facilities to put on this show. And thank you very much for calling in. And so thank you for calling in, and thank you for your request. So, so also just show you the craft one more time. So we made paper chains using a strip of paper and a stencil. And you can make these too by using a strip of paper. You can stick the stencil on top, draw around it, and then cut it out, which will make your paper chain. So that finishes today's show with our craft segment as well. So I'd just like to say thank you to Sister Sarah. Thank you for coming along today, and also thank you for taking part in today's craft. And I'd like to say thank you to all the callers. Thank you for calling in and sharing your comments and reciting things also. And thank you to the viewers. I hope today's show has been informative about Allah's creations. And also I hope today's craft has been enjoyable, and I hope that you'll try it at home. And thank you very much for watching. So today's topic was Allah's creation, and the craft was paper chains of people. And this was Future Stars with a craft segment, and I'm your host Alvi Zaidi. So Khud Hafiz.